Hi everyone, welcome to the How She Made It Summit, everything that you need to know to create wealth in your life. And we're talking about what wealth really is. So I am Tiffany Scott, your host this evening, and we have Felicia Searcy here. I'm so excited to have you here with us. You are incredible leader. You've come to my community, you've shared your information, your wealth, your knowledge, your inspiration, and you help people through a spiritual process really guide a proven success system to unlock the unlimited potential that everyone has so they live the life that they love, which I think is really beautiful. And I've experienced your work firsthand, so I'm a huge advocate of yours. So I just want to say thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. And if you can just talk about, obviously, a little bit more about what you do and your journey to get you to why you do what you do now.
So first of all, it is truly an honor to be here. Thank you, Tiffany. And let me talk about my journey first, and then I'll lead to what is it that I do.
Yeah.
It absolutely stuns me that I am where I am, looking at where I came from, because there was nothing in where I came from to predict that I am where I am. Growing up, had two very ill, addicted, unskilled parents and everything that goes with that. And so what that did was that it caused me to take on an identity of not feeling quite that I was capable or good enough. There were a lot of messages, we're talking about wealth, around how there was nobility in poverty. And just everything, it was hard, and it was a struggle, and it was dark. And a lot of it was on my own. I mean, I learned very early to be self-sufficient. Again, just because of what happens when anybody's dealing with untreated mental illness. I mean, it's the factor of it. I reached a point in my early 20s, and here's the gift that I encourage everybody to really lean into, because I continue to lean into this. But in my early 20s, it was just like a crash where I felt the depth of my despair, my desperation. I don't even want to call it unhappiness, because it went way beyond unhappiness to just absolute despair and desperation. And in a moment, I was open to hearing a path of transforming it. And the initial part of that path said, number one, I came to understand the factors of mental illness, and that it wasn't because of anything that I did or something wrong with me. And it really wasn't even anything about my parents, other than they, experienced this thing going on in their body, and didn't have the tools to do anything different. So discovered that, really began to build a relationship and an awareness of this stream of life that was always there and is always there, and really began to more than entertain, but began to get a sense of, oh my God, what if, literally, oh my God, what if life really is meant to be rich, abundant, fulfilling? So from there, I started on this spiritual journey that has led me to work with some of the most powerful teachers in the human potential movement on the planet, and really see that there is a system to creating results, to really see and to own at a level that I never even, I had no framework, no concept of it up until my early 20s. And I just, and I keep growing in it, that we really are these unlimited beings with unlimited capability to create anything that we can think of. In fact, that power is the most potent energy in the entire universe. And I really woke up to the reality of this infinite energy that gave us this power. One of the things that I will often hear people talk about is mindset. It's all about mindset. It's mindset. mindset's important, but what gets missed in that conversation is, number one, the remarkable gift that we as the human species has been granted through the faculty of our imagination. We are the only species on the planet that we are aware of that has the capacity to consciously choose images and the power of those images, and then to back it up even more and contemplate this energy that so loved us, that gave us this power. So through my journey, I discovered a system, I discovered a community and a companionship. I've woken up more, and I continue in my awareness work to keep waking up to what a precious gift we've been given, to realize that we are accountable, that we have stewardship to this gift. And I am on fire with helping people wake up to this. Because when you talked about building a life that we love, that's great. And to understand that when we choose to consciously use this imaging capacity, to use our capacity to create a life that absolutely lights us up, that we love, it is the way we bring our highest contribution to the body of humanity. It is the way we serve the highest.
Yeah.
Question?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And what would you say? I mean, I know for me, in the work that I do around my own mindset or my own visioning and things like that, you know, even this morning I went for a walk and my mind wandered into a dark place. Like it just started to make up stories in my head. And luckily enough, I caught it quick enough. I was like, what are you doing? Like, I feel like we're so conditioned, and I want to hear your opinion on that, to go to the dark side so much more readily and quicker than to go to the light side. So what are your thoughts on how to pivot in that moment, or even why? Why do we tend to go to that dark side first?
Well, so we could have a conversation around why, although I do want to say this, that it's a really fascinating phenomenon that when you start entertaining something more expansive for yourself, and Tiffany, you have made some amazing decisions. You are doing remarkable work in the world. You are getting these amazing invitations, right? What happens is that we all have a habit. We have a ceiling for how much freedom, how much fulfillment, how much abundance we will allow ourselves to experience. When you start going beyond that success ceiling, it's like these alarms inside get tripped, and everything inside of you will do what it can to dial you right back down to the status quo. So you're feeling really good. You're celebrating an invitation that you got. You're thinking about, the wonderful things that are happening in your life. And there's this part of us, especially when we're unaware, where it says, too much good energy flowing through. So let me lob in this thought about fill in the blank. Unaware, people let that energy, that thought, grab them, and they end up going down that rabbit hole. But you have learned, and you're continuing to learn, how to notice what you're noticing, to be able to step back and ask, oh, is that an empowering, is that an expansive or contractive thought? And when it's a contractive thought, it's like, you know what? I have the power in this moment to shift it to something different. And the thing that I encourage folks to do, and again, as you know, is that you have a very clear vision of a life that when you think about that life, oh, I love that. And you bring yourself back to that vision, and you bring yourself back to thinking the woman who created that result, what would that woman be thinking in this moment? What's the action that woman would take in this moment? The other interesting thing about that statement and that question, there's a lot of brain science to suggest that we have been highly trained to stay on the lookout that, and we will have a tendency to go more toward danger than expansion, because we can, we were trained on the savannas, when woolly mammoths were running around, that if we missed that, whew, we just would have been wiped off. So literally we're retraining our nervous system and our brain to trust a higher degree of good feelings in our body, and to realize that you can let your guard down, that we don't have to be that hypervigilant anymore. It actually dumbs us down. That when we go into that fight or flight, and anytime we're entertaining thoughts that cause our system to contract, we are in a fight or flight mode, right? So what happens biologically is that literally the blood flow shifts from your frontal lobe, which is your creative portion, if you're, where you are tapping into this stream of intelligence, and it goes back to the reflex, the fight or flight. So you actually become dumber, less creative when we're in fear, because you don't have access to the smart part of you. So it's building a believing in your vision, building a believing in the stream of life that woke you up this morning. It's choosing, it's acknowledging what's really happening in the moment. And okay, I could have that fear if I wanted to, but it's not happening right now. And if it were to happen, I know that my God and I can handle it. Yes. So let me turn my attention to something that's a whole lot more fun and interesting, which is my vision and building out a life that I love.
Yeah. There's so many key principles that you teach that I really love and constantly use to remind me and up level my thinking all the time. And one of the ones, there's many, but one of the ones that I continue to remind myself of, and what you said before, was like, notice what you're noticing. Like, that is so key to just, listen to what you're saying inside your own head, listen to what you're feeling, and then just notice that, because when you can be aware of that, that awareness can help you shift very quickly as well, without judgment, without over analyzing what it is or second guessing or whatever it is, but just notice it and know that there's a way to choose a better option.
That's it. Noticing what you notice is everything. When you think about the cause of our results, right, that there are immutable laws that are as predictable as gravity that create our results. What creates our results? First, you have a thought, right? And when I talk about thoughts, I talk about images. We think in images. If I say front door, you probably see your front door. If I say car, you see your car. You don't see DOORCAR. You see the images. Those images then activate feelings. Those feelings have a vibration to them. That vibration is what then gets impressed into what quantum physics calls the quantum field. I call it the invisible cookie dough, because it literally impresses into this field where there are waves of energy hanging out in what's called superposition. They have no form yet. They then form themselves around the pattern that you give it, and that then creates your results. It's the fundamental explanation of the law of attraction, which is a secondary law. It's actually the primary law is not the law of attraction. The primary law is the law of vibration, because vibration is everything. Now, what causes images? It's what you're paying attention to. Where is your attention? What has your attention? We have a habit around what captures our attention. Your vision, your dream demands that you change where you place your attention. The only way you can do that is if you train yourself to notice what you're noticing. And if where you've placed your attention is not in alignment with what you say you want and who you're growing into in the process of that dream, you can feel the contraction in your body. You can see the images that get triggered. And in the moment, and this is where the mastery and the rigorous discipline comes in, because it's in the nuance application of this, particularly when people get past that initial, oh my God, I can manifest a parking spot or I can manifest my house, right? To now really applying it rigorously, continuously for real transformation. It's the rigorous discipline of that nuance noticing that's creating that wavelength of hesitation, of just that nuance of doubt. As the more honed you are at noticing that, the more you're able to shift it, choose different, take a different action step, because it's all going to inform the action steps that you take, and open yourself up to make welcome a much greater degree of abundance in your life. But again, particularly, I'm so grateful to be able to work with people who have had, a degree of understanding and awareness with this, because now it's really working with those nuances of identity, of belief, of where you're placing your attention.
Yeah, and I think that's a beautiful skill you have, is really seeing where those nuances are. So even like as far as writing your vision, like understanding what your vision is, like getting into the detail, so you really know that you can in an instant bring up that vision in your life, and it can also bring in the feeling of like, yes, that feels good, that feels true for me. But the detail of it, I think, is the part that often gets missed when you're talking about law of attraction as well.
Yeah. Neville Goddard was a writer, prolific writer, a New Thought teacher back in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. And he talks about sensorizing it. When you think about it, let me give you an example. And I did a Facebook Live on this yesterday. So here's what's not to do. I was in Louisville yesterday, on my way back to the airport. I'm in Phoenix right now. Spoke to a group on Sunday in Louisville. Spoke to a group today in Phoenix. I'll speak again on Thursday. I'm on my way to the airport. I'm stopped at a red light, getting ready to go right. Was waiting for the light to turn. It said no turn on red. When this big old truck with this big old trailer zips around me and turns and scrapes my car. Now notice the energy that's getting generated as you're listening to this, right? And we could choose to generate any kind of energy that we want to while we're listening to this, but just notice what's getting triggered. Well, so he kept going. So what got triggered in me, with as much awareness work as I do, was, you hit me and you're leaving. What the heck? That's not the word I used in my head or said out loud, but I'm going to say it for this summit. And I went after the guy. Now, it was fascinating afterwards. We got it all worked out. He really didn't realize that he had hit me. I mean, he denied it in the beginning, but eventually came around, got the police there, made my flight, checked in Southwest with 1 minute to go. I had 1 minute to check in, so I made my flight. But it was a fascinating study for me to see how quick that charge can pop up when we take an event and we make it mean something. It then informs the action. And so my action was literally to go chase this guy down. Probably was not the smartest thing in the world for me to do. But it helped me realize how still reflexive, that there are still these reflexes, and to continue to work with the ability to manage whatever the energy is in the moment, as I'm noticing what I'm noticing, and in the moment choose a more life-giving response. I don't know what, I forgot the question, so I hope that answered it.
I forgot it too. I got enthralled in your story. You absolutely made your point, for sure. I know that I think most people are very reactive, and it's just, again, it's noticing what you're noticing, but sometimes it can be hard when you're in the moment and something happens like that. And
that's where the nuance training comes in. It's,
right.
Is this the way that I want to show up in the moment? When I thought about it afterwards, no, that's not how I wanted to show up or who I wanted to be. And, you know, I was not at my most skilled self when I got out of the car. I talked to the guy, and it's like, you know, so I know where I was going with this. I know where I was going. So in that moment, I began to mentally rehearse images at such a level that I wasn't even aware that these were the images that I was mentally rehearsing that then drove my behavior.
Right.
In that moment, I lost my mind. I lost my mind because I did not have dominion over my ability to consciously choose images that would then inform behaviors that were aligned with who I want to be and who I see myself most of the time. And so that's where the mastery comes in. And, you know, to give ourselves a pass when things happen, and be gentle and compassionate and make the decision next time to do it differently. But it's those images inform our actions.
Yeah.
And our actions are what creates our result.
So can you give the, you know, because I'm familiar with your work, so I don't want to take it for granted that people that are listening just understand everything that we're talking about. So can you give some more insights and tips on how to get clearer on your vision, how to listen to what you know, notice what you're noticing, all those sorts of things, some tips that they could take away with them?
Yeah, so one of the ways to get clear with your vision is to learn how to ask the holiest, most powerful, most reverent question, and you know what's coming, Tiffany. And that question is, what would I love? What would I love? It is love itself seeking expression by means of you. Now, when you ask that question and you really start working with images, and I mean very specific images, not abstract, I want more peace, I want more love, I want more wealth, but what does that specifically look like? You want to then you want to lean into those images and pay attention to your energy. Our life force will never lie to us. So pay attention that when you imagine different scenarios, do you feel expansive or do you feel contractive? Get really clear. And this is, and I'm very, very grateful that I've worked with people that I've worked with in order to hone my ability to do this. And this is one of my areas of expertise. And I'm more than happy that if anybody wants support with this, just reach out. We can have a conversation around this and give you some tools to do this. But you want to write something that when you read it, your whole system's lighting up. Not what you think you can do, not what you have done in the past, not what, you know, predictors tell you can do, but this is when you dig down and you create something that excites you and scares you to death all at the same time. Then, as you have that image, you begin to do what I call to build a relationship with those new results. And more importantly, or equally as important, you build a relationship with the person who created those results. That person thinks in a particular way. That person noticed things in a different way than you are. You know, I've worked, my mentor is Mary Morrissey. I've worked personally with Mary Morrissey for the last 7.5 years. One of the things that I do, and that people that I have worked with share, and I'm honored that they do this with me, I zip myself into her skin. And you know, people talk about how they zip themselves into my skin. Well, I can bet my last dollar, Mary Morrissey would not have pushed on the gas and gone after that guy in downtown Louisville. That, right? So it's noticing, where am I congruent with being the person who created those results, and where am I not? And consciously choosing to bring yourself more and more in congruency with the images, with the feelings, with the identity. We will never outperform the way we see ourselves. And then subsequently with our actions. And it's over and over and over again. And you know this, because you do this for yourself brilliantly, it's having people outside the frame. It's having support. I would never imagine going through life without a high calibrated mentor in my life. Number one, I don't ever want to dream something that I can do on my own. Mm-hmm. And I want somebody who's outside the frame, who's walked the path before me, who's able to see those nuances, and then not so subtle nuances, that I'm just not able to see for myself in the moment, or I've just really gotten invested in it to get help to help me, number one, see it, and then help me shift it. So clear vision, begin to build a relationship, ask yourself, the person living this dream, how does that person think in the moment? What does that person do in the moment? How does that person feel as it's all worked out? And a solid, structured system of support.
Yes, so I love all of that. And I know one of the things that I first was challenged with when I was diving deeper into this work was, okay, well, how do I know who she is and what she would do if I'm here and I'm looking at her being over there or up there, right, out there? So can you share a little bit about how do you get into that space of like the person that you want to be, the things that you want to create, the vision that you have for your life? How do you know who she is or how she acts in that moment?
Great question. So you don't wait until the moment to start building the relationship. You start building it in mind and asking as you're seeing different aspects of your vision. Okay, so how does the woman who created those results, how does she interact in that particular scenario? One of the things that I have the folks, the folks that I have the honor of working with, there's a daily practice. And part of that daily practice is, you're reading your vision and then you're looking at, so here's what I have on tap today. Who do I want to be today? How am I going to show up? What's my intention for each one of these interactions? What's my intention for what I bring? And absolutely seeing a result, but realizing the result comes from showing up in a way that is congruent with who you are becoming as a result of saying yes to this dream. The other thing, and I do this on a consistent basis, I look for people who are several steps along the way in front of me, and I watch them. With my mentors, not only am I learning from them, but I watch them like an apprentice. I watch the way they interact with people. One of the things that I'm deeply grateful for was that I had the honor of serving my mentor, Mary, at her live events. I mean, she had 700 to 1,000 people at her live events. And I was her support in the room. So I would watch what she did right before she got on stage. I watched the way she interacted with every single team member. I watched her attention to detail of picking up stuff off the floor, and just her thought process. And it's a barometer for me that when I'm moving through and I'm doing my action steps, I watch her with her kids, with her husband, with her grandkids. It gives me an example to zip into and to seek to emulate. And so again, when I find myself doing things like I did yesterday, it's like, all right, missed the mark on that one. And I play. So here's the great thing about that. Back to Neville Goddard, he's got this great tool in his book, The Power of Assumption, where he talks about the pruning shears of revision, where you literally go back through your day, and in those moments where you are not at your shining best, you replay them in the way that you would love to have shown up. Because what it does is that it sends a signal to your nervous system that you have the ability to do this, and it tells your nervous system, like it normalizes that new response. And so that's another way of identifying who is the person who's created these results. So you then have a better chance in those moments to show up in that new way of being rather than the habit. And that our future self will talk to us. Mm-hmm. Have conversations with her.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I love that. It's like going back and, you know, not even wiping the slate clean, but picking up after yourself. You can do that. You can do that energetically. You can do that with, like you said, human beings have the, as far as we know, I don't know, there's extra, if you believe in ET, extra test, I can't even say the word, but we have this amazing capacity to vision things and bring them to life. Like that's how this world has evolved. Einstein, all of them, they had a vision and they came to life. And that's a great way of also like going back of like, okay, that wasn't my most shining moment, but I can go back and fix that. And also what I love about what you just shared with what happened yesterday is that you're not beating yourself up about it either, right? I think a lot of us, we really beat ourselves up about it when we make a mistake or we're not at our best. We have to give ourselves some love around that. My other question is, you know, I think we've known each other now for maybe 2 years, around 2 years. And has it only been 1 year? Oh my gosh. Okay. So in the last year that I have known you, I just continue watching you up level and go from strength to strength. And in the work that we did together, you're such a great storyteller. I love the way that you tell stories. But what would you say in the last year, and I know it's probably a lot of different things. This is, again, I tend to ask loaded questions, but if you can like narrow it down as best you can, is there been a pivotal moment in the last year that has been like the big aha of like where I just feel like I've watched you taken off even more?
Yeah, so it was I'm trying to decide how to describe it. It was a real sense of ownership. You know, the first several years of my business, I just kind of had my head down, you know, doing.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'm so grateful. It was remarkable. Just absolutely, it's been remarkable. As evidenced by what's happening in the lives of the people that I've had the honor to serve. That's the, you know, and of course it shows up in my checkbook and on my calendar, but the real evidence of the impact is what happens in the lives of the people that I have the honor to serve. And I don't know that I ever really stepped back to own the level of value and expertise that I bring. When I look at what I call awareness training alone, and I look at, so for example, over the last I've been in this study for decades, but when I made a decision to really highly invest in myself and work in systematic structures of transformation, over the last 7.5 years of working particularly with my mentor, I counted and realized that I have averaged 10 times a year where I was in highly calibrated containers of transformation. I work with her on a regular basis personally, and I stay in awareness training. It's not just coaching, but it's deepening my understanding of how these laws work. Plus, I had 25 years of it up until that point. It hit me actually last late spring that it so landed the depth of my commitment to my own training, my own expertise, my own desire to not only transform my life, but the lives of others. And that I have invested in myself in a way that very few people have done, and to own the expertise that I bring. Here's the real thing that landed, Tiffany. It's understanding I have an accountability to that expertise.
Yeah.
And to back away from it is to do my teachers and my mentors a disservice. Mm-hmm. And it's to do the people that I'm serving a disservice, because it's not me. I mean, I showed up, I've done the work, I continue to do the work, but it's not me, personality Felicia. It's anybody who chooses to study at that depth. We're going to grow in awareness. And it's this power streaming through all of us.
Yeah.
That is what's doing the work. So I think the real pivotal moment for me was really understanding what I put myself in the last, at that point it was 6.5 years. It's been 7.5 years now. And to realize I owe it to the people that I'm serving to really own and stand in authority the level of expertise that I bring. Now, I'm not done. I stay in training. I'm continuing to grow.
Yeah.
And I bring I don't, and there's a part of me that wants to hesitate. And here's that false sense of arrogance that I'm staring down. I don't know of very many people out there that are not like at this top level that bring the degree of understanding and ability to really break law down in a way that makes it usable and practical than I do. And again, it's just because I've had remarkable teachers and I've stayed very close in their company.
And you've studied, and I have to say, you're a testament. Like I absolutely agree with you. Like you deeply care. You are so dedicated to this work. You want everyone to experience it, and those that are following you and like you said, have the honor of working with you.
I have the honor of working with them.
But I think it goes both ways. Both ways. You are dedicated to this message. You're dedicated to the way you are being example for them by the way that you teach and share your stories, but you want this for everyone because you're a walking example of that, and so are all the people that work with you as well. So I think it is such a testament to the way that you show up, and you're also an example that, the story that you shared earlier of your childhood, you didn't know that you could have a vision like you have, and you're bringing it to life, and anyone can have that.
That's the thing, and that's what I am on fire with, that it's not the personality, it's the formula, it's the system. Law is law, and it's like saying one person can get electricity and somebody else can't get electricity. We all have this ability, and I am on fire with helping people wake up, understand, and apply their capability in this system that then creates a life that they love.
Yeah. I love your passion and conviction about it. I always have since the time we got on that first phone call together, and then you came and spoke with my live community. So you have a free gift to share. Can you share a little bit about that?
All right. So here's the one that I want to share because it will give you access to both of them. First of all, I created a meditation that takes people into that voice of love. What would I love? Helps you go by, get past all of the voices that want to argue why you can't have this. It's about a 15-minute meditation. If you want that, go to Felicia. So you're going to, just like a website, you're going to go to felicia.live. That's going to take you through a couple of pages where it's going to ask you to, go to Messenger. Here's another Messenger. And then it will lead you to a page where you can make a choice for the meditation. I have an article, 5 Keys to Stop Self-Sabotage, sign up for a conversation with me, or join my Facebook community. It's all on that page. What that will do is that it will put you on my list to let you know when I'm going live on Facebook. I do a free training, Facebook Live training on my business page every week where I dive deep into this formula. So it will put you on my email list for when I send out really good stuff. And then it will also put you on a messenger list to indicate to you when I'm going live, so you can tap into that training and that teaching as well. And if you want to have a conversation, I've got some spots. I am thrilled that I have a deliciously robust schedule, and I always make sure I put spots aside, whenever I do something like this. Just go in there and I'll say, you want support, do that, and you'll get a link to my calendar, and we can talk. My eyes on your vision, help you see when you get stuck and make a decision, an empowered decision about what's next. So lots of ways to wrap my arms around you and really support you in living the life that you love.
Yeah, I would take advantage of all of those options. Her Facebook Lives are amazing. They're inspiring. They're educational, full of information, and she tells great stories. And then have a conversation with her. She lives a very busy, full, robust life. She travels all around the country speaking, and as you can tell, so passionate about what she does. So Felicia, thank you for making the time for this. I know that we had some juggling to do in around your schedule and mine, and I'm so glad that we could make this work, because I love you and I love your message and I love the way that you show up in the world. Thank you.
Oh, you too, Tiffany. Mwah. Love you all. Thanks, everybody.